Uhuru, welcome to tonight's episode of Black Power Blueprint Live. Titled as Black Power Takes Root in North St. Louis, we will never forget Mike Brown. We ask you to subscribe and like us on YouTube and like our Facebook page. Get notifications. We are coming up on the 6th anniversary of the brutal police murder of Mike Brown by Darren Wilson on August 9, 2014 in Ferguson. That's not far from what is now the Uhuru House at 4101 West Florissant in North St. Louis. The powerful and prolonged resistance led by the African working class here in St. Louis was a precursor of the militant African working class-led resistance to the police murder of George Floyd on May 25th of this year. It was the murder of Mike Brown and the powerful resistance that led our party on the road to build the Black Power Blueprint program here on the North Side. So we are going to be talking about that tonight. I am Nze Masimba, project manager for the Black Power Blueprint here in St. Louis, where we are broadcasting live, but we are still in partial quarantine from the serious COVID-19 epidemic, or the colonial virus as we call it. It's spiking back up, and the impacts are really affecting African people so hard. I am very excited to have with me tonight Columbai Andanette, who is the president of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Uhuru President Columbai.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Also, we have Tachara Masimba. He is the Economic Development Coordinator for the Black Power Blueprint. Uhuru Tachara.
Right. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Uhuru, happy to be here.
Great, welcome. So we would like to begin by saluting Chairman Omali Yeshitela. He is the founder and leader of the African People's Socialist Party, and who came here right after the police murdered Mike Brown in 2014, and the rest is history. It is the chairman's brilliant vision of dual and contending political and economic power in the hands of the African working class that was the basis for the Black Power Blueprint program.
We also would like to salute Deputy Chair Onazane Yeshitela. She is the Black Power Blueprint Director, under whose leadership I work and in whose office I work. Deputy Chair is one of, she's the one who came here to St. Louis in 2017 with the mandates that were laid out by the chairman. She saw, it was Deputy Chair who really saw the potential for the Uhuru House when no one else could see it. And she set out to really win the participation of the masses of people to participate in this project of developing this building that had been vacant for possibly almost 2 decades. And this was before gentrification was large and loom over the community, and people, before most people saw any reason to invest in this community. She came under the direction of the African People's Socialist Party and the leadership of the chairman. So we just want to really recognize her. There's nothing like the Black Power Blueprint anywhere in the world.
Here's Tachara. Thank you. And I want to let everybody know that we are raising $500 tonight. I know that we can do it, and we can do it with your help. So go to blackpowerblueprint.org to donate to the project. Black Power Blueprint is for political and economic power in the hands of the African working class. So go to www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate. And we're also asking that you write donate plus the amount that you want to donate in the chat. So if you want to give $50, you'll write donate, or you'll type donate 50 in the chat. So before we start, I want to take a few minutes to show a video so people can see what the Black Power Blueprint is really about.
Okay.
And just a little bit about the neighborhood. So I think people have gone through orientation, so I'll spare you that. But, you know, we are really fighting to bring African self-determination to this neighborhood. Right now, we're undergoing a process where we're fighting gentrification. You know, there's a huge spy agency that just took 1,000 acres, and is it more? Because I might be wrong about that. I think it's more than that. Somebody tell me. And they have plans to push this community out. And some people will say, some people have said, well, I don't care. I want white people to move in next to me. Look at this community. But the fact is, this community has been drained of any economy, particularly over the last 5 or 6 decades. It has been systematically bereft of any kind of resources and allowed to just die. The buildings have been allowed to die. There are not jobs, there are not grocery stores. And the fact is that the resources that should go to these neighborhoods are shifted to the other side of Delmar. And so that's the relationship when you see one people getting wealthy at the expense of another people. So this is an anti-colonial, anti-gentrification project that is highly significant. It has won the community in 1,000 different ways. I mean, we see this, you know, daily. When we first put this flag up, especially, this thing was famous. You know, we have people just like this stop, pull up, take pictures, bring their children. If they were walking one direction, going to the bank, and they looked up and they saw this flag, they would turn and come back here. So this is a great source of pride. In fact, people in the community told us, we don't have to worry about anybody messing with this flag, because if we see something happen, you know, we're gonna take care of it. So this is a great source of pride. This is a real anti-colonial project to take space for back to the African community. Gary Brooks, who, you know, the garden is named after him, the Gary Brooks Black Power Community Garden. And he was real instrumental in providing us help, you know, security, letting us use his restrooms. You know, when owners and they used to tell us, the president of our nonprofit first got here, we didn't have air. We didn't have air in the summertime. We didn't have heat in the wintertime. No restrooms. She and Kitty later will be on the ground, having meetings in their car, overseeing contractors, you know, men, and all of these, you know, very difficult conditions under which to work. And Mr. Gary was right here putting security bars up for us on the doors, letting Deputy Chair Ona use his restroom. And then during COVID-19, when we were all locked down, and this was still mostly dirt, he and his brother and his nephew were out here every day planting seeds, doing the stuff that we're doing today. They were doing this during COVID-19. And, you know, they built the planter boxes that we'll be doing today, all of that, you know. So this is really a labor of his love, and we appreciate him so much. So, yeah, let's give him he's going to be leading today.
Uhuru. And we are going to start out with you, President Columbai, but first, I want to show another short video.
Place else is because of young Africans right here in Ferguson who stood up. I don't want to hear any criticism of these young Africans. It is because these young people stood up and they fought. They fought back like you're supposed to fight. When you're occupied, when your community is occupied, and they're shooting you down in the streets, you are supposed to fight back.
How powerful. What a powerful video. We saw Chairman Omali Yeshitela there in the streets of Ferguson with the people. We talked about before how President Kalumbai came to Ferguson in August of 2014 after the murder of Mike Brown. Right now, I want to welcome President Kalumbai. Hey, President Kalumbai, Uhuru.
Uhuru, comrade. I'm so excited to be here on today. This particular program is just, this invitation by the Black Power Blueprint. Uhuru.
Uhuru. So I got a question for you. We always hear about this story about this lady following the chairman on through the streets of Ferguson. Can you tell us that story?
We're going to show it.
That was called.
I think they're showing it right now. And you can see me in an orange,
or at least two
orange top.
different kinds of organizations. And it was a march that is a part of an obvious plan to smother the resistance of the people. It was a march that demanded that the people remain silent and
I'm out of breath trying to keep up with chairman.
not raise their voices in protest. And the only reason at this point there's any kind of chanting of protest going on is because some of us in this march define the people who are trying to control this march and to keep the people from being able to express their outrage at the murder of people in our community. They are.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Who is that lady in the orange shirt?
I don't know, child. She seemed very pressed. Chairman, she seemed very pressed. That young lady was Herdosha Bentham at the time. Again, my name is Kalumbai. At the time in that video, I was Herdosha Bentham. And I was, an African woman that had a house in Ferguson. I lived off Chambers and West Florissant in Ferguson. And I worked in Ferguson. And I had been to, protest after protest regarding, since August 9th. And so this particular protest I went to, I was pissed off because I had a sign that I had made and they said it was a peaceful protest and we couldn't have signs. You had to be quiet in the march. So I was really, me and my cousin was thinking about leaving because I was like, this is just like all the rest of the protests, and I was beginning to get very upset and trying to figure out all these things. And this particular march, I had seen Chairman and, his statue. It was his stance that drew me to him initially, because these protests, you have to remember that the unrest was real. And they would start off saying that something was peaceful. And just because the sun was out did not stop the police from turning violent on the people, regardless if you were, peaceful or not. I think a couple of days before this particular protest that I went to and met Chairman, a sister who had her baby at a protest had just got shot in the eye. So, so I seen Chairman, his statue, like he looked like he was about that life. And so I was like, let me go stand by him, because they had said something like women in the middle and men on the outside or something. So I'm like, he looked like he, about that life, just his stance, his Uhuru swag. I didn't know that at the time, but I went and stood by him and another comrade, and we were marching, and then chairman started summing up Ferguson, and he was explaining colonialism, and he was saying that we colonized, and then he was saying, colonized people, and then he was like, this is these are colonized people, and he started explaining, how we are colonized as African people, and saying colonialism, and I was just so like blown away by what he was saying. I wanted more and more. I didn't want him to leave. Like, I literally, the sister that I was talking to, she knew who chairman was. I was asking her, like, who is this? You know what I'm saying? Who is this talking? And she was telling me, and I was like, okay, well, like, how do I stay in contact with him? Like, can I get his phone number? I think at one point I did ask, can I have his phone number? Because I didn't know. I just didn't want to sign a clipboard for somebody else not to call me, and I just felt, like I needed to know more about who this man was and what he was talking about, because I had been to, like I said, protest after protest. I couldn't sleep at night. I had anxiety. And all these things were happening because I didn't know what was happening in the community. Why was, it was on fire. I didn't know what was going on. And it was the first time that I heard someone be able to sum up this reality that we were living in. And not only, Mike Brown being murdered, but I seen myself, and I seen my whole entire existence in what he was saying. And I understood why I was so outraged, and everybody that looked like me had band together, you know what I'm saying? Because of the same thing that he was saying. We just didn't know it. We didn't have those words. So that was me and Zay. Down Ferguson.
Uhuru. So now that we've identified the woman in the orange shirt, and I must say, I always love hearing about how you met the chairman on the streets of Ferguson and how you came into the party. But I want to know if you can sum up the difference that the party, the African People's Socialist Party, and the Black Power Blueprint has made in this short period of time of being in St. Louis.
Oh, yes, in Zay, like, my life have been tremendously changed just from being able to be part of the African People's Socialist Party, the Uhuru movement, and, the Black Power Blueprint. And so, like, I did like a little short timeline to like take people down a timeline of, like the movement. And I'm going to do this no justice because it was so many different things that happened. But so August 9th, chairman got on the plane and came to Ferguson. And he was not like all the typical leaders that had to have these huge platforms to speak to the people. He literally got off the plane, didn't even take his luggage to the airport, to the hotel, and went on the grounds of Ferguson and got with the people, and that's the first, like, that was, we didn't know, we didn't have an analysis of what was happening. We just knew that we were outraged and something terribly was going wrong and had been going wrong. And it didn't just stop when Mike Brown died. It started long before that, and it was still happening after Mike Brown died. And so, on August 9th, chairman came. So like that in itself was tremendously changing the game of the course of history right there with Chairman Amalia Shatella coming to St. Louis, Ferguson during this time. And then after that, the party had organized, different events and recruited. Like, they went out, chairman was a recruiter. Like, he went out, a lot of the people that had joined the Uhuru movement, myself, Comrade Fofi, some of the original people, were recruited right off the grounds of Ferguson, and we had different events at Legacy Books and Cafe. Shout out to Mr. Nix for always supporting the movement. And another thing, shortly after that, we had organized IPDM, the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement. And I think I was the outreach coordinator. I was outreach and membership. And, so I was into recruiting. And our first president was Daraja. in St. Louis. So after we organized EPDM on the grounds in St. Louis, Ferguson, during this time, we started organizing. And so we had an event called the Black Grand Jury. I actually have on a t-shirt today. So the Black Grand Jury, I was a member of EPDM, but after the Black Grand Jury, I joined the party. You know, I was blown away because at first we were organizing the Black Grand Jury and we were like, this was some hard work. Like, you know, we really were, it was intense. We were able to organize other families that had, you know, families that were loved ones that was murdered by the police before Mike Brown was murdered, and families that was murdered after Mike Brown. Like literally after Mike Brown murdered, another African was slayed in the street, and we organized these families to the Black Grand Jury. And now we have showed a history of this terror of police violence in the Black community. And we had other speakers, like on the grounds here in St. Louis, chairman. We had our own lawyers. We had lawyers from the Bahamas, lawyers in our movement, lawyers from here in St. Louis. We had police chiefs right here in St. Louis. We had community people in our community that made up the grand jury, you know, and we used the evidence that was given out to everyone that Bob McCullough had released all the evidence that the grand jury looked at, and we read the rules of how the grand jury you know, get sworn in and what their job and responsibility is. And we listened to this whole case, and a light bulb went out of my head. And I realized that African people need power, and we can govern ourselves. We have everything in us to be able to govern ourselves. And it's just like a light bulb went off when we participated in the Black Grand Jury. What our community needs is power. And so the Black Grand Jury was something that the party organized, and you know, it was just history making. And still to this day, universities are using this as a case study, as evidence of things that should happen. And so like this really shaped and changed the mode of how you know, people were looking at Ferguson, and we started seeing the narrative change, you know, and everything. And so then we had the Black community control of the police. And this was at a very rich, important time where people were saying that we need body cameras, but the African People's Socialist Party, the the Black is Back Coalition, EPDM, and others had a conference, the Black Community Control of the Police conference right here in St. Louis, where we were saying that the demand is not for body cameras. We need Black community control of the police. We need to have the power over the police, over our communities. This was a very important conference to really, you know, help people understand that we could not be bamboozled by the petty bourgeoisie that will have us organizing and mobilizing for just simple body cameras, but we need power over the police. So we had the Black community control of the police. And we had several different mobilizations that was very significant, where the party will have different events that was very important that we organized, and we won all kind of young people and people to go to various different places that never been out of St. Louis before, to see that the struggle that we are engaged in and here in St. Louis is the struggle that we are engaged in all over the world. People are changed when they can actually go and see the movement beyond the four walls of, you know, their community that never been outside of St. Louis. So this was another thing that the party had done right here in St. Louis. And at the whole time we are, you know, organizing, recruiting, bringing more people into the International People Democratic Uhuru movement. And also at this time we have put on the grounds ABDEP on the grounds in St. Louis as well. And so shortly after, you know, after that, we had Deputy Chair Onisade Yeshitela after coming out of the plenary. Chairman Amali Yeshitela writes a political report to the plenary, and in the report, he lays out exactly what needs to happen and, you know, economic development to the Black community, and how we've seen the petty bourgeoisie, you know, getting in front of the struggle of Ferguson, changing the whole scenario. You know, we got Ford's money, Foros money, all big developers are dumping money into this struggle to change the narrative. And the party, the African People's Socialist Party, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, was hell-bent to make sure that the African working class that was fighting, resisting, and made the whole world watch Ferguson could not have anything. That the African working class had to know that the world was watching, that the African People's Socialist Party is a party that was moving in a real way. It was about to shake the ground, literally, in the form of the Black Power Blueprint. And so Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela came to St. Louis with that political report, highlighted, and came on the grounds. And not only did she come and, build the Black, help organize, not just one individual come and do some heroic things, but it strengthened numbers. So she brought myself, Chachara, and Zaid, Fofi, and many, many others, people from our community in the 21st Ward, in the 3rd Ward, all these wards, county, city boundaries, we don't see it. Bringing people into organization, work days to build the Black Power Blueprint, and buying property, fixing the property up, having community meetings, bringing structure to our organization, helping us to shape and mold our agendas and how we organize. So many different things. I'm sure I'm leaving out all the things that happened in her time stayed, and actually moving. It's a resident of St. Louis as well. And so all these incredible things the party has done, in 6 years. And like I said, I am leaving things out because we have so many, and I know we're going to get into talking about more of the development of the Black Power Blueprint. But I just want to stop here and really appreciate Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the leader of the African Nation and the African People's Socialist Party, and all of my comrades that came on the grounds and understood that this struggle that was happening in Ferguson was a call to the revolution. It was a call to the frontliners, the vanguard party, to intervene in a real way, because the Democrat Party wasn't going to do it. The Socialist Democrat Party wasn't going to do it. The Republican Party wasn't going to do it. So the African working class had its own party on the job in coming in and building real structure, real concrete, organization that addressed how we're going to feed, clothe, and house ourselves. Not a conspiracy theory, not just talking, but actually concrete things that we can see, touch, and feel. So I am excited and consider the honor to be able to work and be a part of this amazing this movement, be a member of this movement, be a leader of this movement. It's really an honor to be a part of it. Uhuru.
Uhuru. And it is an honor to have you here tonight, to have this discussion with us, because we know that you were there since day one. Here in St. Louis with the Black Power Blueprint. So just really want to salute you and thank you for joining us. As you said, the African People's Socialist Party and the Black Power Blueprint have been in North City on West Florissant. It has been a game changer. So I know that many of you are thinking, what can I do? How can I help? What can I do to play a role in the Black Power Blueprint? So tonight we're calling on you. To donate, and you can do that by going to www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate. We're asking that you type donate and the amount that you're donating in the chat. So for example, if you want to donate $200, you type you type donate and 200 in the chat. So President Columbine E, one more question for you. I'm just so intrigued, enjoying our conversation. But I hear a little birdie told me that a convention is coming up for Impedum. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm so excited. Can you believe it's been 6 years?
I can't believe it.
Wow. 6 years. 6 years. It's been 6 years. And now on the grounds in St. Louis, the international office is right here in St. Louis, Missouri. So yes, the international office opened up its first office, and many more to come. But the international office, because we're an international organization, so our international office is right here in St. Louis, and we are going to be having our international convention September the 11th through the 13th of September. Yes, you heard it here. And you can go to 2020 EPDM Convention on Eventbrite and get registered. There's no reason for you to put it off tomorrow. It's a free event. It's going to be on Zoom. You don't want to miss this convention. This convention is going to really say, exactly what we have to do as an international mass organization under the Uhuru movement. What do we do as the African working class to build our own organization? How do we build Black community control of the police ourselves? How do we build Black community control over the school system? How do we intervene in the electoral arena? We have to. People have to have a choice to vote for Black power. Like, we need to put Black power on the ballot. Give people that option. So many different things we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about Africans towards genocide. We are charging America with genocide. You can sign that petition today, and you can hear how we're going to continue to lead that charge. And we are going to be talking about reparations. Reparations, yes, I said it. We want our reparations. So we're going to be talking about all these things September the 11th through the 13th. So if you're on Facebook, you can go to the International People Democratic Uhuru Movement, to our Facebook page, and find more information there. Or you can go to Eventbrite 2020 EPDM Convention and get registered today. Thank you, Nzei, for allowing me to let everybody know about the 2020 convention.
Uhuru, how could I let you leave without letting you talk about the convention? Uhuru, thank you, President Columbi E, and thank you all. I see that some people have answered the call to action and went to www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate. We have Chairwoman Penny Hess, who has donated $50. Uhuru, Chairwoman Penny. We have Alex Dayon, who has donated $100. So as of right now, that brings us to $150, closer to our goal of $500. So we have $350 to raise. And I know that we can do it. Again, go ahead and go to www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate. In the chat, you'll put donate and the amount that you wish to donate. Uhuru. All right, so next we want to speak to our other panelists. We have our virtual panelists. We have T'Chara. T'Chara, are you there?
I am here, Uhuru Nzei.
Uhuru T'Chara. So just want to welcome you tonight and want to see if you can tell us what the Black Power Blueprint is, and not only what it is, but what makes it so unique.
All right, Uhuru, I appreciate the question. So the Black Power Blueprint is this anti-colonial economic development project that is concentrated here in St. Louis. So as President Columbi, you discussed, the African People's Socialist Party, under the leadership of Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela, came here to St. Louis as a result of the uprisings in Ferguson. And, you've heard the chairman say that when he was listening and observing what was happening, he heard, the young Africans on Campfield Drive yelling, "Kill the police." It was a real righteous resistance, and it was really something that at that time was being led by the African working class, who gets the brunt of all of the police brutality, humiliation, and suffer at the hands of the state on a day-to-day basis. It's just a part of living as a colonized person for African workers in the colony. So the African People's Socialist Party came here, and Deputy Chair Onizane Yeshitela came later. We looked for buildings that we could house a community center, for lack of better words, that we refer to as the Uhuru House, the Freedom House. And we eventually went to 4101 West Florissant, where we saw a building that has been vacant for we don't know how long, different stories, maybe a decade, maybe 2 decades. This building had been vacant. And so we purchased that building, and there was nothing special about the condition of the building. It needed a lot of work, but it had a sound structure, but most importantly, it was in the community that we wanted to be in. And that was something I had to learn, because when I first started to look for buildings before Deputy Sheriff arrived, I went to some parts of North County. I knew we went where we wanted to be, where Black people were, but I had no idea that the party wanted to be in the most oppressed sector of the African community. And that's where we were. That's where we operate. And so we found this building. It was 3 stories, nearly 9,000 square feet of space, and it needed a lot of work. And so we went under. We underwent the process of raising money, forming a committee to raise money. We brought in Solidarity Forces, whose job was to go into the white community, win the white community to donate reparations, to provide reparations as a support for this project. And we went among African people, both in St. Louis and throughout the world, informing them of the conditions and informing them of our struggle to overturn the conditions, our plan to overturn the conditions. And we just saw an outpouring of support. And even beyond that, we had just hundreds of volunteers come in on a day-to-day basis to help renovate this building. People could begin to see the vision of this project, because I couldn't see it right away. This building needed a lot of work. It was in really, really bad condition. Like most of the so many of the buildings in North St. Louis, and where in St. Louis, there are about 25,000, or at least up until recently, there were about 25,000 or so vacant and abandoned buildings. So this was no different from many of the vacant and abandoned buildings that we see. People were living in the buildings. We saw mattresses on the floor, couches throughout the building where people were sleeping in the building. We saw needles next to some of the mattresses. We saw baby diapers. We saw animals, squirrels and whatnot, in and out of the building. It was, we came to this community, the African People's Socialist Party created the Black Power Blueprint and came to North St. Louis at a time where nobody was investing in this community. And they certainly were not investing in the community for the sake of the community, besides the people who had been living there all this time. But people were not coming in now like they are now, trying to speculate by purchasing property in North St. Louis in this neighborhood, because they think that it will be gentrified in the next year or so. So we renovated this building. It happened over about a 9-month period. African contractors did most of the work. Some Mexican contractors, African women participated as skilled contractors. And it was just a real serious level of discipline, organization, and ideological development among the people living in that neighborhood and the people in and around St. Louis, including myself. So, this is indescribable. This is a real project that is rooted in African self-determination, and is rooted in organizing the most oppressed sector of the African community. Even the skilled workers, many of them don't get the kind of work that they should get. And they certainly don't make the kind of money that their white counterparts in terms of skill and profession make. So this was an incredible feat of organizing, revolutionary organizing on the ground, led the day-to-day work led by Deputy Chair Onozene Yeshitela. So it's like really indescribable how serious this was. So now we have renovated the Uhuru House. It is a beautiful banquet hall, community center, space for the community to come and participate in weekly events, have weekly dinners. This was prior to COVID, at least. It's a space that families can rent out for banquets, for weddings, wedding receptions, for repasts, for baby showers. And it's somewhere that the community can come to sum up what is happening to the community. So people come there and they say that the city is trying to take my property. The city has 3 properties next door to me and they won't cut the lawn. I'm concerned about gentrification happening. It looks like a lot of white people are coming in, buying up property. I'm concerned that I'm gonna be pushed out. And we've been able to help the community understand the nature of the conditions in our community, and that what we face on a day-to-day basis is colonial domination, that our communities look the way they look, deprived of any kind of economy because the resources are being sucked out and given to the Central West End, given to the white people on the South Side, and that our responsibility is to struggle against that, to overturn that relationship, and then to create an economy for African people to live. So we created that. That was the first floor where we have the community center, the banquet hall, the Freedom House, the Uhuru House, it means freedom, the Freedom House. And then on the second and third floor, we have office space for community organizations. So, we work out of there and we organize in that community. We live in the community every day. We know everybody walking up and down the street. We know the neighbors. We have relationships with the neighbors. Many of them sit on the committee that is responsible for organizing the Black Power Blueprint. So that was the first project we did. And then the second was directly across the street from the Uhuru House were two buildings in a lot. And the buildings were once businesses, but they couldn't be saved anymore. So we demolished those buildings and we created a full outdoor market and a community garden. So the outdoor market has you see a beautiful 50-foot flag was installed with a 25 by 15-foot red, black, and green flag. You see a beautiful pathway was paved through, and you can't really see that well, but we also have installed pavers as a result of a small grant that we got that is good for the sewage system and soaks up rainwater. And then to the right, you see the beautiful Gary Brooks Black Power Community Garden, which is it's just that, it's a community garden. And the building right there to the right, where the garden is where Gary Brooks himself stays. And then a few buildings down, Sam, who has a community center that he is really fighting to organize people around. He participates on our committee as well. And community members all up and down the streets, they've written letters for us to ensure that we could carry out the project and get the necessary permits. And you see this beautiful outdoor stage that is a real significant space for us to have outdoor events. And it is almost complete. We'll remove that bar in the middle. Here you see the garden up close. So it's got all kinds of fruits and vegetables, just beautiful, and bringing life and vitality to a community that no one would invest in. Here you see us at one of the work days, planting grass and pulling up weeds, building planter boxes. And here you see Comrade Abdullah Alexander, who is also on our committee and part of this whole movement. He is doing the upkeep of the grass, the lawn. And look at that. And recently, some white nationalists came in and stole a flag in the dark of night, and we had a whole community outrage as a consequence of that. One of the community members, without us knowing, he went live. He said, support the Black Power Blueprint. He was telling people, go to blackpowerblueprint.org and donate. We need a new flag. There's no way that this should happen in our community. So these are the projects that we've completed thus far.
Hurrah to try. Thank you. Like you said, there is no organization like the Black Power Blueprint in the world. Thank you for showing us what has already been done, but can you give us kind of an outlook on what's coming up, what projects are in the works?
Yes, and I just want to tell everybody, go to, if you want to donate, you can go to the comment section here and then type in donate and the amount you want to donate. So if you want to donate $50, you would type in donate and $50. And we really encourage people to donate. This does not happen any other way except for everyday people like yourself making this happen through donations and volunteering. So you've seen what we've completed so far. So now we will continue the process of not just developing properties, but organizing the people. So we are forming a garden committee that will maintain the garden. And we really want to open this up to the community. So we want to bring in community members who live in and around this area to have a garden box and to be able to help with the upkeep of the garden. Many people have come to visit this garden because one of the contradictions with creating community gardens is that most people do not have the community support or the organizational infrastructure to even be able to keep it up. So many people want to know how it is that we do it. We can do it because we're rooted in the community. So we have support to make this happen, including, as we stated, Mr. Gary Brooks, who lives right there and who has assumed an awesome responsibility for making this happen. So the garden committee will be forming. We look forward next year, whenever we can get through this COVID thing, to have outdoor markets and events in the market space. We want to see vendors vending all throughout that outdoor area, including on the street. That is both streets that are parallel to the property space. And then we will begin demolishing 2 buildings just a few hundred feet away from this. So we purchased 2 other buildings. We want to demolish those buildings, and we'll begin a project of building retail space on top of their property. So this is something that, again, we were doing when nobody else wanted to purchase property. These properties have been sitting so long that we have to demolish many of them. But we are building on top of them. We are creating a vibrant economy for the African community right here in North St. Louis. So we'll demolish those 2 buildings. That'll be coming soon. So we really want to tell people who don't follow the Black Power Blueprint to follow the Black Power Blueprint. Make sure you can get notifications, because as soon as we can get the necessary permits from the city, and the city has a few hangups, but as soon as we can get those permits, we're going to call the contractors, or rather they're going to call us and tell us that they're ready, and we're going to demolish those 2 buildings. We'll go live. We'll have a whole program around it. So we want people to really stay tuned to that. Also, just a few hundred feet down from those 2 buildings, we also will begin renovating a 4-plex house that will become housing for Africans getting out of prison. So, you may have heard us say over and over, criticize the U.S. state for its genocidal captivity of 2.5 million people in prison. 3/4 or 2/3 of whom are African people languishing in prison, including many of our political prisoners. So we want to go into the prisons and organize people. We want to bring Africans out of the prison. We want to provide housing for them, and we'll put them in a workforce program for a commercial, inside of a commercial kitchen, or as part of a commercial kitchen and bakery cafe that we are also renovating here in St. Louis, or we'll begin renovating soon here in St. Louis. So we'll renovate that 4-plex. Anybody who has any kind of skilled labor, you can participate in that renovation. If you don't have skilled labor, we always look for opportunities to bring in volunteers to help paint, help remove debris, whatever we can. We just want you to be a part of this project. So that is happening soon. We also will be installing a basketball court right next to that 4-plex. So again, there was another property there that couldn't be saved. I mean, after we purchased it, the bricks started falling off the top of the roof, and it just created a whole hazard with piles of bricks on the sidewalk that had begun falling off the roof right after we purchased it. That's what kind of condition it was in. So we demolished that building, and we'll have an outdoor basketball court. And we want to have an outdoor basketball court because we know that that's what the community wants. We know that is something that will give the African community a positive outlet, and also begin to add years to our lifespan as we have, physical activity and health can become a reality in the city, in the north side where we don't have grocery stores. We have very few facilities. The facilities that we do have, they cost money. So we'll begin the renovation of the basketball court. And then lastly, on Natural Bridge and Goodfellow, we will be renovating a building that many people in St. Louis know as the old boathouse. So that'll be a commercial kitchen. It'll be a bakery cafe. So it'll be a sit down bakery for people to come in, dine, get African comfort food with their families. People who want to rent commercial kitchen space will be able to rent commercial kitchen space. And then we'll have the African Independence Workforce Program, where the Africans who are benefiting from living in the housing will be able to learn culinary skills at the commercial kitchen so that they can get jobs and start businesses.
Busy, huh?
That is a lot. We need help. We really want to organize. And on top of that, we're organizing the community. We're not just renovating projects. We are organizing the community in a thousand different ways. Programs. We had, prior to COVID, we had a monthly Black Power poetry event. We had weekly community rallies on Sundays. I mean, we were going to begin the outdoor markets, which would have started off as monthly markets in the summer and fall. So we need people to join the Black Power Blueprint and also to donate to the Black Power Blueprint. So type donate an amount you want to donate in the comment section, and then go to blackpowerblueprint.org. You can donate there, and you can also sign up to become a volunteer and to join this movement.
Heard to try. That's amazing work, and just want to salute you for your role in the Black Power Blueprint. And I also want to send a shout out and a salute to those who have already went to www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate, helping us to get closer to our $500 goal tonight. We have Lisa Watson, who donated $50. Uhuru Lisa, Paula Rubin donated $10. Uhuru Paula. Casey Mackey, who donated $5. Uhuru Casey. Uhuru to Janice Kent, who donated $50. Also, uhuru to Johan Bedingfield, who donated $50. Uhuru. Kitty Riley donated $30. Jackson Hollingsworth donated $5. And Fofi to Kibalon donated $25. So uhuru to everybody who has already went to www.blackpowerblueprint.org. We have raised a total of $375. That means we only have a measly $125 left. And we can do that before our show is over, I'm sure. So please, again, go to www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate. In the chat, you'll put donate and the amount that you are donating. Uhuru, and thanks again to everybody that has donated. So Tachara, back to you. I got another question.
Okay.
All right. So there are a lot of protests going on right now around the country, a lot of uprisings. Can you tell us why is it important to go beyond protests, and how does the Black Power Blueprint go beyond protests?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question. And first, I want to encourage people after they view this event to go to the Facebook page of Chairman Omali Yeshitela, where he did a whole presentation on this, and he really laid it out. But the thing is that this system does not have the capacity to yield any other results for African people than the ones we've got over the last 400 years. It don't get no better than this ultimately. So we have to have a plan for genuine African self-determination. Black people have to have power of our own lives, and that's just a fact. And that can't happen by simply passing legislation. That can't happen simply through some kind of social programs. We have to have power of our own lives, and the bread that should go to African people should go to African families, or in the refrigerators, or is in the refrigerators of the white people who live vastly wealthier lives than we do. And we have to contend for everything we we get, and we have to take power. We have to make a fundamental change to the relationship that we have with an oppressive social system referred to as the United States. So that's the bottom line. And we've seen like 140 cities have been engulfed in rebellion since the murder of George Floyd. 140 cities. We saw Trump being rushed to a bunker and then trying to deny that he went, out of fear of what may happen as a consequence of these rebellions. And you've heard in this presentation I just referred to by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, he talked about how studies show that 3.5% of a population is in rebellion is necessary. That's like the tipping point for the amount of resistance necessary to overturn the government, 3.5%. And there have been estimates of 15 to 25 million protesters since the murder of George Floyd on May 25th. That's equal to 4 to 7.5% of the entire population of the US engulfed in demonstrations, protests, resistance. But the thing is that this, the social system that we live under, it has evolved to anticipate resistance, obviously. I mean, it has its origins in slavery and colonialism, and you can't enslave a people without constant resistance. So it has turned the capacity to take resistance and to take it nowhere. He's turned that into an art and science. They've turned it into an art and science, the ability to take resistance movements and divert them so that they don't result in a real fundamental change in the social system. So, for example, right now we see that happening in many different ways. So many of the protests that we see, 75% or so of the people out are white, which is not a large number in terms of population percentages, but many of them are white. Many of them are under 35, and statistics show or report that most of them, the protesters actually have an income or fall into the income group of $150,000 or more in income. So people are protesting because there is widespread discontent. There's a general discontent, distrust, and rejection of this entire social system. But people resist for different reasons. So if you're making $150,000, you're not resisting for the same reason that Africans who know many other Africans who have been murdered at the hands of the police, like Mike Brown, like George Floyd, you're not protesting for the same reason. And so there's this constant struggle over which direction the struggle will go and to what end the struggle will go. For a person making $150,000, they may be accustomed to making $175,000, $200,000 and having a great retirement. And if they can get that, they can be satisfied with the social system. For white people who may experience some kind of discrimination as a result of being LGBTQ, as long as that mild discrimination can be satisfied, they can have their needs met. There's also a small sector of the African community that we refer to as the African petty bourgeoisie or African middle class that has a very short-term view and only wants relatively mild reforms to the social system for them to be able to satisfy their interests. So you always have these contending groups participating in resistance, but for different reasons. And we say that the fundamental contradiction that gave rise to this whole movement, the real contradiction, the real point of exploitation and oppression is of African people by the state. So it was the murder of George Floyd, not just by a police officer, but by a police officer in broad daylight on camera. And it happens regularly around the country. So this is the fundamental contradiction, meaning that African people are our oppression, our exploitation is the basis for the existence of an entire social system built on oppression and exploitation. So we have to have, so African people have to lead the struggle, and the African working class, which is the most fundamentally oppressed class, social class, has to make a form of struggle that will result in us alleviating our oppression. And that requires fundamental social change. That requires that African people have power over our own lives. It requires that we remove ourselves from this relationship that we have with our colonial oppressors. And by colonial oppressors, we mean colonialism is when a foreign and hostile occupying force exploits another people for economic gain and utilize political and social domination to make it happen. So it's a foreign and hostile entity, a colonial power. The US is a settler colonial state where white people left what will become known as Europe to settle on another people's land, to murder the people in the hundreds of millions, and to take the land for the purposes of being able to take the resources of that exist underneath the land. And then they went to a whole continent and enslaved a whole continent and dragged us all over the world, including the US, what is called the US. So it's a settler colonial social system that has its origins in exploiting and oppressing and imposing extreme violence on the indigenous and African people here. And it has not fundamentally changed at all. It has only evolved. So that is the fundamental contradiction. So when we talk about all of the ills that we face in the African community, I mean, in St. Louis, 30% of the people live off an average of $5 a day. 30% of the population living off an average of $5 a day. Statistics show that it would take 228 years for Africans to acquire the same amount of wealth that white people have today. We talked about the prison population, the largest prison population on the planet. And most Africans who are in prison get sentenced without ever having gone to trial at all. So not only is it an oppressive, exploitative system, it is a dictatorship where people don't get to go to trial to determine their guilt or innocence. So what we are saying is that the protests have to say to what end. You know, where are we going? To what end are we struggling? Are we struggling so that slightly uncomfortable white people can have the discrimination that they receive removed so that they can participate with the rest of the white people in our colonial oppression and exploitation? Are we saying that white women should become equal partners with white men in their ability to exploit African people? Are we saying that the African petty bourgeoisie should get us a few crumbs to satisfy them so that they can become the managerial class for the colonizers, for the capitalists? Or are we saying that the majority of African people who will never know freedom, never know any ability to have a life, to be able to guarantee that they can produce life with any kind of respect, any kind of dignity for themselves or their children, do we get to make a form of struggle? Do we get to make a form of social transformation that can allow the majority of African people to be free? And so we say the Black Power Blueprint is about creating and organizing an anti-colonial economic development project where we go into actual communities and we organize African people on the ground to begin to take economic and political power. So we say self-determination. We say that we have to control our food supply. We have to control the housing stock in our community, which means we have to have Black community control of housing. We have to control the police in our community, which means that we have to have Black community control of the police, not just Black police officers, but Black community control of the police. We say that we have to have Black power. We have to have Black political power. And it is a political and economic power that is designed to contend with the capitalist, colonialist power, which requires our exploitation for its existence, which means that both cannot coexist at the same time. So our job is to eliminate the capitalist economy, to overturn the colonial relationship, and to bring power to the hands of the African working class. We have to control all of the means of production, all of the forces of production. And we have to negate, eliminate, destroy the colonial capitalist economy that cannot do other than bleed us dry, imprison our children, and create all kinds of contradictions that result in Africans killing ourselves, dying of coronavirus. That has to go, so we have to have power. So we have to say to what end? And to say Black Lives Matter, it does nothing. It only offers the white ruling class and anybody else who wants to co-opt our movement a phrase that is friendly enough for all of them to co-opt without any kind of repercussions. We have to advance a struggle, we have to advance slogans, and we have to advance tactics that can result in the masses, the majority of African people being brought into organization, brought into political life, and fighting for and achieving self-determination. So we say Black Power matters, not Black Lives Matter. The Black Power blueprint matters. So you have to donate. We need people to donate. We need Africans to donate. We need Africans to participate in the Black Power blueprint. A lot of people talk about Amos Wilson, who I love. I mean, I'm familiar with Amos Wilson and have been for years. He wrote a book called Blueprint for Black Power, and people adore that. But we're saying that we are building the Black Power blueprint right in front of your eyes, and you have to participate in this project if you are about the business of African people knowing a life of freedom and liberty anywhere on this planet. Thank you.
Unite. Black Power matters, right? And I know that being on the grounds here in St. Louis, I can see what the Black Power blueprint is doing. I can see the difference that it is making in the community and the base that the Black Power blueprint has built here. Can you talk about exactly what that means to you in your words?
To have built the base, it means that we're not gonna win this struggle in cyberspace. I mean, that's just the reality. And we're not gonna win it by bringing large numbers of people to protest alone. That we have to go into African communities, we have to seize territory, and that we have to build the organizational capacity to take actual space, to have actual people united to come out and participate in political and economic struggle, economic development. So we center ourselves in the African community, but we not only do we provide, organization and economic development, but we also provide ideological development. Because once the people seize an understanding of the world that matches, that reflects the reality of the world, so that we can begin to see our own self-interest and we can begin to see the world as it actually is. When the people are gripped with philosophy, gripped with theory, gripped with ideology, then that theory becomes a tangible material force. When you couple that with actual organization, and when you couple that with actual economic development projects that are contending with the ruling class economy, and that help people begin to see how it is we can begin to govern ourselves, and they begin to believe in it, then this gives us the capacity, we believe, to create a mass movement and to, inflame the people with organization and ideology, and they can overturn any oppressive government. It is absolutely possible to overturn any oppressive government, to change the relationship that you have with any oppressive government if the oppressed people can grip theory and can participate in organization under the leadership of a vanguard party. So that's what we believe, and that's what it means to me for us to have built a base. We're right here on the ground in North St. Louis and in other parts of the world, including, in the townships of South Africa, in the Caribbean, in Europe. We are everywhere African people are, doing what Garvey did, but we'll perfect it and we'll complete that struggle. And African people will be free. We will be self-determined, and we will be able to say with certainty whether our children can have a future or not. Right now, we can't say that. So, Huru.
Tashara, brilliant answer. And just in general, I think that you did a great job of telling everybody about what the Black Power Blueprint has already done as far as projects, what's coming up for the Black Power Blueprint. And you also explained to us the importance of Black Power Blueprint in our community here in North St. Louis and the impact that it has made. So this is definitely a great example of what a grassroots organization led by the people for the people can do. So I am calling on you, if you have not already went to www.blackpowerblueprint.com to donate, I'm calling on you to do that now. I'm sorry, .org. So it's www.blackpowerblueprint.org to donate, and please put donate and the amount that you wish to donate in the chat. So again, thank you to Charwa. I want to thank President Kalumbai. You both have been great this evening. Thanks for joining us. Also want to shout out some more donors. The donations keep coming in. We have Diane Tornay, donated $20. Marissa Martinez, $50. Juana Paye Kizito, I'm sorry if I messed up your name, $5. Matum Nyombi, $25. Raya Fogarty, $25. And Chair Jesse Neville, $15. Believe it or not, they're still coming in. We have Pam, $25. So that brings us, we surpassed our goal, guys. So we are at $545. That's $45 past our goal of $500. And we could not have done it without you. So just really want to appreciate everybody who donated, everybody who tuned in, and want to remind you to visit our social media pages to sign up so that you can follow us as well as get notifications so that you can know everything that's going on with the Black Power Blueprint. Uhuru. So, yeah, we better go. So just want to make a couple of announcements. So Tachara showed you the beautiful garden. We are having a garden club meeting. It's a virtual meeting. It will be this Saturday. The meeting will be virtual. Like I said, it's through Zoom. So to get more information regarding that, you can give us a call and I'll get that number for you and get more information regarding that. But also the Impedum Convention is September 11th through 13th. You can register at Eventbrite. And then the Black is Back Coalition has an annual conference, which is Fight for Black Power, Free All Political Prisoners. It's Saturday and Sunday, August 15th and 16th. And you can go to blackisbackcoalition.org and register today. And if you are a graphic designer, the Black Power Blueprint wants you and your talent. So if you are a graphic designer and you would like to donate some time to the Black Power Blueprint, please feel free to go to blackpowerblueprint.org to sign up to volunteer. And then the Garden Club, I mentioned I get that website for you. It is St. Louis, so it's stlouis.garden@blackpowerblueprint.org. You can email us to get the call-in information for the Zoom meeting, which will be this Saturday, August 8th, and the meeting will be at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So again, want to thank everybody for joining us from wherever you are during this time. Want to remind you to stay safe during COVID, the colonial virus, And thank you for joining the Black Power Blueprint. Hope you enjoy your evening. Uhuru.
Uhuru.